Hello, everyone. I'm Minda Smiley, agency's reporter here at Adweek, and welcome back to another edition of Adweek Together. Before we get to today's show, I want to remind you that if you are finding our content valuable, you can support our journalism with an Adweek Pro subscription at adweek.com/offer. So go there if you're interested. Joining us today is Alan Trinkle, president of Group M media agency M6 here in the U.S. Alan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Happy Friday to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of
How are
course.
you?
I'm doing well. And, it's Friday, so can't complain.
Yeah.
So I know today we're going to spend a lot of time talking about just like this whole transition to working from home and sort of how you've been able to foster positive dynamics and just a positive culture in a virtual workspace. And I'm really glad we're talking about this today because I actually, at a previous job, I worked from home for a few years. And it's crazy to think about how even a few years ago, like it wasn't really quite a thing yet. And, I was really grateful to even have the opportunity to do it. And now, of course, it's becoming the new normal really quickly. And so I thought we could kind of just kick things off by you maybe talking about sort of how M6 has sort of transitioned to it and sort of what you're seeing that's been good.
Perfect. Yeah. It's definitely been interesting to say the least. And I use that word loosely. I think even going into before COVID, we've had a somewhat flexible work from home environment. The idea being that work comes first based on your schedule. So having flexibility, certain people want to work from home certain days and some people work better at night. Some people work better in the morning. Some people work better on planes. So having that type of mindset going into it was a little bit helpful. But when obviously everything changed, it changed quickly. So when things started rolling out, when the city started making changes, is when we really got serious about it. So from the beginning, we did a couple IT tests just to make sure that everyone could handle the physical, technical side of working from home. But I would say the broader spectrum of thing is the culture. So making sure that we were constantly in communication with people, making sure that we supported them, making sure that they came first, and we would work around that was kind of like the key culture moment going into COVID and working from home. The rest of it is a little bit technical, and then a lot of it is about creating moments where people can still get together. They still have interactions with other people, either personal or from a professional perspective. And then making sure that all of that is in a way that is supportive of the overall work for our clients.
Yeah. And so can you talk a little bit about some of the specific like programs and initiatives you guys have kind of implemented, which I imagine pretty quickly over the past few months to try to make the transition maybe easier and more fun for people?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's definitely been a team effort, without a doubt. And I think in the beginning, it was more about us and leadership and HR kind of pushing some of these programs. And actually what's been fun is seeing a lot of the employees pick it up themselves and run with it. But some of the specifics that we have are meditation Mondays, where we take a minute and actually just take it, whoever wants to join, 15 minutes and relax for the day. We have Tasty Tuesdays, which is one of my favorite ones, where we've had a rotation of people at home giving us their recipes of their favorite meals. So obviously people are spending a lot of time at home. Some of them are health oriented. Some of them are more for fun and let's veg out.
Snacks oriented.
Exactly. I just learned about browning Rice Krispie treats, brown butter Rice Krispie treats, which has
never
been
heard of that.
great. And I might need to go for more runs. Wednesdays is something that we call a little bit of a What's Up Wednesdays. So it changes a little bit, but different topics of different things going on in culture that we chat about is quite entertaining. You can't get away from Thirsty Thursdays and the BYOB cheers. And then Fridays, it tends to be a little bit more of a fun send off into the weekend where we share some of our gifts, share some of our favorite stories of the week, the crazy things that are happening at home with certain people's kids or their roommates, whatever it may be. And I think all of that is just kind of bringing together the idea that people have home lives. Things are changing. They need either a minute to connect with the outside world, or they need a minute to decompress. And that's some of the ways that we built it on a daily basis.
Yeah. And so, What kind of feedback have you gotten from employees? Like, is there anything in particular that's worked really well? Is there something that you thought might work and kind of just fell flat? Like, what are you kind of hearing from them in terms of some of these things that you've started doing?
Yeah, I think for the most part, people have been very supportive of it. It is an outlet for the most part for people to come and connect. I'd be lying if I didn't say that there was a little bit of an arc where in the beginning, everyone kind of participated, and then we've had to switch some things up. The idea being that people are still looking for new things to do. They still need to be connecting, things like that. Where I think some of the more valuable lessons have been is making it more personalized. The idea being that this is affecting everyone very differently. So people with kids are having certain issues. People that are sitting at home in an apartment by themselves are having different types of interactions with this experience. So with that, we started setting up mini groups. So people with parents could rotate taking care of a 30-minute session every other day. The idea being, hey, let your kids come in, let them entertain with us, let them scream, whatever it may mean, and do that on a rotation. Other days we did little groups with people who were single at home. We've also done groups with people that are home with their parents, because there's quite a bit of that. So just learning from each other, I think, has been the most pivotal part about all this, and then creating environments where people can thrive off of that, add to it, and help each other.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, I mean, I do think, of course, everyone's experiencing it differently depending on their situation, but there's been so much coverage around how parents in particular are really exhausted right now. And I know you're a parent, just trying to juggle everything. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Like what resources or even just like flexibility you're providing parents, and how that's kind of, if that's
Yeah.
worked for you guys?
Absolutely, and it's definitely an evolution. We do not have all the answers by any means right now. My two kids, 4 and 2, are they definitely keep me up, and we definitely have to keep them busy. I think where we come into it from a parent perspective is flexibility. The idea being with everyone that that it might not be a 9 to 5, it might not be a quick response. How do we start building in the framework that it's okay that everything else is going around everyone at home. So making sure that for me, the first thing I said was, when you get an email from me at 10 o'clock at night, don't respond to it. That's just me, getting something out of the way later. Or if it's early in the morning, don't respond to it. The point being that we are moving more to an output based piece of work, as opposed to a 9 to 5 and you have to be on all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't really know what your perspective on working from home was, even back in January, but
Mm-hmm.
how has it sort of changed? Like, when this all kind of started, did you have any certain things you were kind of nervous about, or you thought might not really go that well, that it surprised you, or are there things that you thought would be easy that have actually been really hard? Like, I'd be curious to get your perspective on just what has maybe been more difficult, or on the flip side, easier than you thought when you first went into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say it might be obvious now, but at that point, I thought that working from home was more about policies and work. I would say it really goes back to the personal nature, and everyone is having different interactions with working from home, different feelings about it. So breaking that down on an individual level is incredibly important. Making sure that everyone's asking how people are doing, both people that they manage and people that they manage up to. So making sure that that is in mind with every conversation you have, pretty much, is so important. If it was a one policy fits all, this would not work out by any means. This has to be tailored to each individual's working from home behavior. But overall, everyone's been incredibly responsive. So people are doing great work. They are engaged just as much, if not more than ever. People are being supportive of each other. There's quite a bit more empathy that goes along. So I've been happily surprised by how everyone's been able to rally together, show empathy to each other, still do great work for our clients, and just be supportive overall.
Yeah. And why do you think that is? I mean, why do you think that you have seen more collaboration, more empathy?
I would say it's a little bit being vulnerable to a certain extent, and making sure that everyone understands that it's okay to. If we were in a world, or if we were creating an environment where there was constant pressure, I think that it would just stress people out even more. There's enough stress in this world, so it's more about being understanding and try to figure things out together. The examples I would say is setting by example. So going back to when you're emailing, when you're talking, making room for that. When a kid, comes on screen with a parent, let it go, laugh about it. That's a normal thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So creating those types of environments is more important than ever, so that people feel supported, and then in that they feel a way of reaching out when they do need help.
Yeah, yeah. And I know before this we were chatting, and you were saying that you kind of are trying to implement some maybe guidelines around how much Zooming is happening, how much video chats are happening, just because people are burning out of and like you were saying, it's a lot of stimulation to be like watching 30 heads talk at one time and the chat is going crazy. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Like sort of when you kind of started to feel this kind of Zoom burnout, and what exactly you've done about it.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's overall it's been great seeing people, seeing colleagues in different parts of the country and the world, and interacting like that. It's actually made quite a bit of good connections. But to your point, all of a sudden we started being on Zoom calls from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. with zero time to get up and walk around or interact the way that you would in office, and have little laughs and stuff like that. So one of the first things we did was actually try to make meetings that would have been 30 minutes, 20 minutes or 25 minutes, meetings that would have been 60 minutes, 45 minutes, at least at like the first kind of get-go. The idea being that you need some time to do your email or walk around or get water or whatever it may be. And then as things started evolving, there's been quite a bit of articles about just the mental strain from looking at 10 different little screens, watching people's facial expressions all day long. So where we're kind of evolving that is, it's almost like the old, is this meeting important thing that you would have had in the office? That still applies. So is this meeting important is a question. Can it be a phone call, which is funny enough? So you could just walk around and do other things, or eat, or play outside with your kids while having a phone call. Is probably where we're going to be ending up soon.
Yeah, exactly. It is interesting. Like I do think I think video calls they are better on phone calls in a lot of ways, because you can see people and sort of have more of a genuine interaction. But yeah, then at the same time, it's like you have to be at your computer, and it is restricting. So I think, we're kind of at a place where I don't think anyone fully knows. No one has any like hard policies around when they're going to go back to the office, when the office is going to open. It's all just taking it day by day. And but can you talk a little bit about like what you're thinking in terms of just like how you're kind of making sure when things start to reopen that employees are comfortable with everything that's being rolled out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a broader spectrum of listening to employees, just as much as you're talking to them, if not more, because the differences in opinions are so vast. We have people that want to get back to the office that can't, don't want to be in their apartment because it's been too much, and they work better in an office environment. And then we have people that don't ever want to go back to the office again, which is absolutely okay. So where our head is at is the number one thing is people first, making sure that no one's in danger or doing anything that is not safe or that they don't want to be doing. And then the second thing is thinking about how do you make a safe working environment whenever that may be. No idea if that's in months or years, but I think we would follow city ordinance to a certain extent, best practices. And again, that's only on the basis of if people want to or feel comfortable.
Yeah. And so I think like once, I think at some point there will be a group of people that do want to go back to the office. It will happen again. And so from the past few months, like what have you learned, and what have you done that you kind of want to still keep going once we're back in the office? I mean, even if it's just some of these daily kind of fun breaks you're doing, or is there anything else that you feel like you kind of want to make sure like, okay, this has been really good. It came from working from home. I want to make sure we're still doing it, a year from now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've in groups of people that we've talked to, some of the favorite things is obviously not having to transport themselves into the office, just that added time. So people are enjoying getting that time back. I think we'll continue to be supportive of people working from home and that flexible nature of what they do with that extra time. For the ones that do want to get into the office, whenever that is in the future. I think it's more about making sure that we're using this technology in similar ways. So still being able to connect to colleagues in different parts of the country and world is going to be more important than ever. I think that's been one of the best things that people have seen benefit from, that type of connection, which is great. The negative sides are definitely people are missing the laughter of a group of people in the same room. So how do we make up for that will be, a question mark. But overall, like, we're going to have to evolve our technology and our collaboration so that we can do this in a better way. I know you used to work from home before this, so you probably have some tips and tricks, and we're going to keep taking those types of things from everywhere, other companies and the people ourselves, but what they want to be doing more of in the future.
Yeah. It's been interesting for me because, like I said, I worked from home. I guess it was from like 2016 to 2018, somewhere around then. But like I said, it wasn't that long ago. But I do feel like there was sort of this sense of like, oh, you're working from home. Like, I don't know, people weren't like it really is crazy how quickly it's become this like thing that everyone just kind of is so on board with, and seeing Facebook and Twitter come out with these policies. It's just fascinating to me, and I think it's definitely a different experience for me too. Like, when I worked from home a few years ago, no one else was really doing it. None of my friends did it. And now it's like watching everyone do it together. It's just obviously very different. And in some ways makes it easier, I think, because you have that collective, like everyone's going through it together, I guess. And so I guess like if I'm sure there's a lot of agencies out there that have these same sort of topics and questions on their minds. So like from your perspective, what advice or lessons would you give if to other agency leaders right now that might be thinking about sort of like, okay, how do I keep evolving these things? There might be some fatigue happening around them, and how do I keep employees excited and engaged right now?
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think it starts primarily with empathy, making sure that you have an open conversation with your employees. As much as we can set policies and create meetings and all of that, we need to make sure that it's right for everyone. They're in it with us. So having them bring things to the table that can help the environment, can set how this all unfolds in the future, making sure that door is open is incredibly important. With that, you learn more things, you develop new ways of doing this. Everyone does it together. And it just creates a better work environment that's personalized to everyone, while still laddering up to better work for our clients and collaboration together. So it really is about listening more than ever before.
Yeah. And I guess, from you personally, like what, less so from like a company perspective, but just your experience, like how has it been? And do you think you'll be one of the people that wants to go back? Are you dying to go back to the office, or are you happy to kind of keep doing what we're doing?
Yeah. Well, I miss people. That's my first kind of answer is I miss seeing everyone. I miss the little banter in the hallways. I miss some of that collaboration and whiteboarding. I think that there are ways of doing that digitally, and right now, I think it would be difficult to say that there's a perfect future, because there's still so much uncertainty from a health perspective. If I were to say it was 100%, better, everything is safe, then I am excited to come in and see people. There's just no timetable against that at all. So right now I'm enjoying spending more time with my family, a little less travel, still doing great work for our clients, and having these types of digital interfaces to get work done.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Alan. I hope you have a fun, relaxing Memorial Day weekend planned ahead.
I do, yeah. Thank you. Likewise, I'll be cooking up something in one way or another, and probably FaceTiming with the family and friends that normally would have been at the barbecue. But
yeah.
Thank you for your time.
About the same for me. Well, thanks for joining us today. You can find all of our episodes at adweek.com/together. And to sign up for an Adweek Pro subscription, just go to adweek.com/offer. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, and enjoy the long weekend.
Thank you.